any teeth left after the series. We'll get into the breakdowns.
Yeah.
But, Louie, look, Florida have bullied the Carolina Hurricanes, and you could see it because the normally unflappable Rod Brindamore was all over the officials, and that's because he couldn't protect his team on the ice because he didn't have any toughness, so he had to get in the officials' faces to get them to call some of the stuff. Florida has a very specific manner in which they play the game. They are a big, tough, physical team. We won't even get into the fact that the assistant general manager is the son of Colin Campbell, who's got a lot of power in the league. We won't even go down that path. So, are the Oilers better equipped this year to handle that than last year?
Yes, they are. I believe they're better equipped for it. I thought they did a pretty solid job last year. Down 3-0 to battle back to make it a 7-game series. Incredible. So I think they've added some personnel. Trent Frederick comes to mind. He's a big physical guy. He's played Florida before in a couple series, gone toe-to-toe with them over the years being in that division out in the East. So he understands that caliber of hockey. He's a big guy that can play, but he can elevate the physicality. A healthy Evander Kane makes it easier for them as well. There's a guy that can skate, that can hit, that can put the puck in the net, and plays with that edge. Vasily Podkolzin, there's another guy that wasn't there.
He's had history with AJ Greer.
Stronger. He's got a little history with Greer. But he's a skater and he's a finisher, right? This is going to be a very physical series. It's going to be a very skilled series. It's going to be a fast series, but it's going to be physical. And the Panthers are a team, they're a little throwback. They take a chunk of you. So for Edmonton, they're going to have to take their chunk too. It's going to be really important to elevate that part of the game.
Well, the biggest thing for me right off the hop is, yes, I mean, Evander Kane is healthy this year. Last year, he was a shadow of himself, and he'd tell you that. He's healthy entering this series. Frederick, who you've had your eye on for 2 or 3 years for obvious reasons, and also I think, Vasily Podkolzin, in terms of functional toughness, that old term, Edmonton has a lot of it. Corey Perry, they've got a lot of guys who drain the other team's reserves, pulling them off their goalie, pulling them out of the blue paint. All of a sudden, that energy that the Oilers used to expend because their net was getting buzzed around, now all of a sudden, they're taking some of the steam out of their opponents. All that posturing and pushing and shoving after whistles, that takes energy away from the opposition. It's not unlike a guy, we'll talk about boxing, it's not unlike a guy leaning on you at clinch. It wears you down. It saps you of reserves. And the Oilers, they can play the game any which way you want it. That's what makes the Florida Panthers so effective. And again, I go right back to the matchup. That's what makes this such a compelling final for me, is not only do you have Edmonton, obviously the team we've covered day to day for the last 15 to 20 years, but you've also got such a worthy opponent. So if you see Edmonton achieve its ultimate goal of winning the Stanley Cup, there's no way you can. This is not, in other words, this is not the 2003 Anaheim Mighty Ducks. This is not the 1998 Washington Capitals. This isn't the 2002 Carolina Hurricanes. There's no fluke here. No. Florida's here. They're a worthy champion. I'm not trying to pick on those teams, but this is a titanic tilt between two very good teams. It reminds me
of the first Cup for Edmonton, 83-84.
Against the Islanders,
right? But 83 lost, 84 won. I mean, up against a juggernaut.
But they got
4 straight Stanley Cups.
This isn't the 82 Canucks and that the Islanders beat.
The Oilers got pumped in 83. They lost in 4 straight. And frankly, they routed the Islanders in games 3, 4, and 5 in 84. I don't see that, the reality is Edmonton, the Oilers almost pulled off one of the greatest comebacks in the history of the National Hockey League last year, right? One bounce short. That's one bounce.
Yep.
Right? This opportunity, what do I say? To become the champ, you have to beat the champ. Well, they're facing the champ, and the champ is shown once again on the route through the East that they got to knockout punch themselves.
This is like This is like the second Cup. If you want to bring it totally to an Edmonton perspective, the only difference is Philadelphia hadn't won. They lost the 80 final. They were the President's Trophy winners, but they hadn't won. Florida has won a President's Trophy and a Stanley Cup and lost a final in the last 3 years.
Yep.
That's unreal if you think about it. They've won everything you can win, including the Cup, and that's who Edmonton is going to have to beat. So again, if the Oilers win, they will have earned it. They will have played a team that's been in and around it for 6 years, and the Dallas Stars, including 3 straight conference finals and a Stanley Cup final. the Vegas Golden Knights, who won the division this year and the Cup 2 years ago, and then Florida.
The only teams that have beat Edmonton in the last 3 years are the Stanley Cup champions in the playoffs.
Exactly.
So either
they've
they
been
win,
knocking on that door, and they need to take a battering
That's a
ram
much
and
better
break
way
it
of
down.
saying it.
They need to bash it down is what they need to do.
All right.
And I agree with you, Bob.
So let's
they need to rip it out of Florida's hands.
Let's go by position. We'll start in goal. Even dating back to the Swift Current Broncos, Stuart Skinner was traded from Lethbridge to Swift Current. During that playoff run, he got pulled multiple times. He had a couple tough starts. He had 6 shutouts during the 4 series. But he also had 4 or 5 really poor performances. The Oilers were in conversation at that time with Manny Viveros, who was coaching Swift.
Had a nice round of golf with Manny earlier this past week and a half.
All right, so he was...
Who haven't you played with lately?
I've been playing with everybody.
Thankfully, I haven't wrecked your day. But no, but Skinner had high... It's part of his name. I mean, he did it in junior. He did it last year against Vancouver, lost the goal for 2 years. What happened there? Did we get knocked off the air briefly? No, we're okay. Thank you very much. Bobrovsky, generally regarded as more of a sure thing. Where is your take on the goaltending situation? Jack, we'll start with you.
Well, I think the goaltending situation, one team is completely traditional in the sense that you've got Sergei Bobrovsky, and win or lose, he's going to be the goalie. I mean, sorry, we're not going to see Vanacek in any meaningful purpose whatsoever. Again, with respect to Edmonton's depth, I don't think it's inconceivable that we'll see Calvin Pickard in this series. I'm sorry, I don't. He's 6-0. If Skinner falters, if Chris Knobloch feels the time is right to give Pickard a spot start, he's going to do it. Just like he did when it was time to play Kasperi Kapanen, when it was time to play John Klingberg, when it was time to play Jeff Skinner. If he feels the moment is right, he has shown that he is not afraid to make a move against the grain. And just as, and I know, I mean, let's come back to a salient point here. The only reason we're talking about Stuart Skinner is Calvin Pickard got hurt. He didn't play his way out of the net. He got hurt. He's 6-0.
Mm-hmm. He would have kept going.
He is a backup goalie on their bench right now who's 6-0. So that's how I see the goaltending matchup. Bobrovsky, win or lose for Florida against a duo for Edmonton that in various cases have been vital to this team, not just this year, but last year as well.
But in case in point, I don't think they can let Bobrovsky settle into the series. I think they have to make it difficult on him.
100%.
You know, that's the one thing for me is when he's feeling it, and I didn't see this coming for him. I thought his career was pretty much done. But he turned it around.
Alex Lyon got him into the playoffs a couple years ago.
He was nowhere to be seen. And I thought, you know what? That long-term $10 million $10 million a year contract for him is starting to look worse and worse every year. It looks like money in the bank now. But you know what? He had to turn his game around.
That Boston series you talked about, Louie, remember, the Bruins beat Alex Lyon the first 2 games of that series. If they don't, maybe Alex Lyon is still in Florida. Exactly.
And Bobrovsky came in and shut the door.
All right. So one thing about Florida, they're really well managed. They made a huge trade to get Seth Jones. You know, cost them Spencer Knight, but they got Seth Jones. They signed Nate Schmidt in the offseason. Is their defense better right now than it was a year ago when they had the likes of Brandon Montour in the back?
Montour had a fantastic playoffs. I mean, he was lights out. He was incredible.
Better the regular season the year before when he had the 17 goals and 53
It's going to be hard to match him. His intensity and just what he did, the way he brought that game every night, he kind of fit right into their game plan too, I thought. You know, just the way he played, a little bit of chip on his shoulder, edge. Yep. But you know what? Seth Jones is showing that you're right. I know you said earlier, Jack, that he was kind of in that space where he kind of got lost in that abyss of a team that was in a major rebuild and just didn't get talked about.
Sucks the life out of you.
And it sucks the life out of you. But he's found life, and he is a solid and a formidable defenseman. So I'd say they're pretty much the same for me.
I'll ask both of you this. I think the Oilers' defense is better. This is the best defense for me since '87. So, Jack, your thoughts on the current makeup of the D?
Well, the biggest thing is all 6 guys can skate and move the puck. I mean, Klingberg doesn't have blinding speed, but he has subtle, elusive speed. Same thing. Really, Klingberg is an older version of Evan Bouchard. He's slippery. He's poised. He makes the extra slide step when he needs to create a lane. Matthias Ekholm will bring the grit back there alongside Darnell Nurse, but both guys can move the puck. Jake Wallman has been an invaluable addition. I still am not quite sure why Detroit decided they could part with him and move on down the road. I don't think that was a good move. And quite frankly, Jake Wallman is close to every bit the shot that Evan Bouchard has. I mean, he has a cannon from back there.
You know what else about Jake Wallman, too? And I recognized it down on the bench side when I was on the bench covering the first 2 rounds. He's got a little of that gamesmanship.
Oh, yeah.
He's not afraid to get in there and jab and talk. And we talked about the forwards, Darnell Nurse, Matthias Ekholm, Jake Wallman, Brett Kulak, Klingberg. Klingberg gets his back up every once in a while, too. He's not afraid to get in there. This is a formidable defense corps.
Best D they've had since
it is better than last year, in my opinion.
Well, not even close. For me, not even close, not even remotely close. The forward units, different. They don't have the same, just as a quick trivia question, do you know which Oilers player finished second in scoring in the Stanley Cup Finals last year? It's a surprise.
Kulak?
Forward. Which Oilers forward?
Oh, forward, sorry.
Finished second in scoring behind Connor McDavid in the series.
Brian McLeod.
Close. Similar guy. Warren Fogle. So, one of the things the Oilers had as the series wore on, Edmonton's speed became part of the tempo in games 4, 5, and 6. Edmonton outscored the Florida Panthers 19-7. They needed to outscore them 20-6, right? Like 1-goal flip. But the point of that is Leon Draisaitl, we talk about, you mentioned Evander Kane, he played the 2 games. How about Leon Draisaitl last year? He was seriously compromised, could not shoot the puck, Jack. And I look at the Oilers forwards. I know they don't have Zach Hyman, and that's a big loss. The guy had 70 combined goals last year. They're very different at forward. Do you not agree? They're more experienced, more poised. I don't think they've got near the same explosiveness. They don't have a Holloway bringing it. They don't have McLeod bringing it speed-wise. What do you think, Jack? Are they? I don't know. I don't even know if you can say
they're malleable. That's what I would say. They're malleable. You can play almost all 12 forwards on any line in any position.
Yep.
You can move around the chess pieces.
And he does.
And I think, to be honest with you, a Florida club that is so structured and rolls the same 4 lines, you're giving Florida something a little extra to think about, because they are going to be seeing and dealing with various combinations. Corey Perry is going to start on a line with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Connor McDavid. But, Louie, you and I both know that doesn't mean Corey Perry's playing 22 minutes.
Yeah.
He's still only going to play 14 minutes, which means you're going to see Kapanen on that line, which means you're going to see Arvidsson if he's in the lineup on that line, which means you could see any one of Draisaitl popping up there. There's so many different combinations and guys that can jump around and play so many different positions and roles. That's, to me, why Edmonton is looking as explosive as they did last year. And maybe, I don't know whether it accounts for the speed factor, but all I'm saying is Edmonton seems to roll over you no matter who's in what position. And I think part of it is they've got a veteran group who knows how to play the game. So if they're on a different line or in a different position for a shift or two, they can handle it.
The one time they get in trouble at times is when they try and do too much and they get overextended. So we talked a lot about the transitional play of the opposition in the first couple of rounds. They cleaned it up against Dallas, except for game 1. But here's the thing. I think they're a little more poised.
They're a lot more poised.
I'm on the same line as you, Jack. I think they manage the puck better. I think they make better decisions with the puck. They know how to put a puck in an area to get it back. They don't hurt themselves. They can close out games. And I think that's really important, especially in the pressure cooker that's the Stanley Cup Final. You have to make plays under pressure, and you have to make the right play. If you're making mistakes, turning pucks over in bad places, it's not good.
I think Florida's better at forward, too, especially with Marchand joining that third line as well.